Hello everyone. So in this video tutorial I'm going to discuss about animal tissues. So first of all we should know what is tissue. So tissue is the group of cells which have similar origin, which have common origin, and they all together perform a single kind of function. So tissues are the group of cells which have common origin and perform a single function. So those are known as tissue. The group of cells are known as tissue. So in animals there are basically four types of tissues. Those are epithelial tissue, muscle tissue, connective tissue, and nervous tissue. So we'll see in detail one by one. So these tissues are made up of cells and their respective extracellular matrix. So don't think that the tissues are made up of only the cells. It will have to attach and form a group, right? For that it needs extracellular material, extracellular matrix. Okay, so extracellular matrices along with the cells tissues are formed. So it is important to note that tissues are not packed with cells alone. It consists extracellular matrix also. So in the epithelial cells, the cells are actually closely packed and form the flat sheets, right? So they are found mainly on the surface of our body in the form of skin. So skin are epithelial tissues. Skin are made up of epithelial tissues. So our body covering is made up of epithelial tissues. Our body covering is nothing but the skin, and skin is the organ. The largest organ present in human body is the skin, and skin is made up of epithelial tissues. Next, epithelial tissues lines the organ too. So they are found on the surfaces of body, organs, as well as body cavities. So it also lines the body cavities. So epithelial tissues consist of tightly packed sheets of cells. They are found on the surfaces of body, organs, and body cavities. So extracellular matrix takes the form of basement membrane in case of epithelial tissues. So what is happening even if the cells are arranged like this in close manner, so it's even if the single layer of cells are there, epithelial cells, this basement like structure is the extracellular matrix. So what will happen below this dense basement membrane? There will lie the capillaries. Okay, capillaries will be there, nerve cells will be there. So through the capillaries, blood will go to the cells, right? And there will be exchange of nutrients and as well as gases, and neurons or nerve cells will be there. So all the nerve impulses or information will be passed through these things. So that is why extracellular matrix perform the important function. And if the multi-layer of epithelial cells are there, suppose this is one layer, this is another layer, like this. So below the last layer there will be the basement membrane, that is the extracellular matrix. So the extracellular matrix takes the form of basement membrane, a dense mat to which only the last layer of a multi-layer of epithelial cells is attached. So the last layer will be attached to the basement membrane. The tight packing of cells with no space between them enables the tissue on the skin to act as a barrier against the microbes. Okay, so these cells, epithelial cells, all kinds of epithelial cells are tightly packed. Okay, and there won't be intercellular spaces, and due to this it enables the skin to act as a barrier defense organ, so that harmful microorganism could not get inside our body. And also it prevents the essential fluids to get outside the body. So it prevents the loss of essential fluids from the body. That is why the cells are tightly packed. Now the epithelial cells that lines the organ facilitate secretion and absorption of relevant substances. So the linings of many organs like intestinal tract, respiratory tract will have the epithelial cells. So the outermost covering of the intestine will have the epithelial cells, and those epithelial cells are specialized for the absorption of nutrients as well as secretion or excretion of few another waste material. Okay. So example, cell lining the respiratory tract has cells that secrete mucus to keep the surface moist and lubricate. So the lining of the respiratory tract should be moist and it should be slippery, so that the it will cause the movement of the air and everything possible, right? So it will secrete the mucus to keep the surface moist and lubricate. So if the lining of the respiratory tract will be moist and lubricated, then it will prevent that tract from the aberration, okay, from the breakdown due to the pressure of the air. Cells lining the lumen of the organ may have cilia to cause movement of the molecules. So cilia will help. The cilia is nothing but the if it is the cell, then here cilia will be present. So these cilia will cause the movement of the molecules smoothly. Now here you can see all the types of epithelial cells, that is simple squamous epithelium and its location function. So simple squamous epithelium are flat cells like the tiles on the ground, you can see here. So these are the arrangement like tiles. So this is the basement membrane, and here the cells are flat like this kind of a structure. So it is found in the air sacs of lungs and the lining of the heart, blood vessels and lymphatic vessels. So what will be its function? It will allow the materials to pass through by diffusion, filtration, and secretes lubricating substance. Because it is made up of single layer and it has the thin cell membrane, so it will facilitate the exchange of materials easily. Okay, that is why it is present in the air sacs of lungs and the linings of the heart, blood vessels and lymphatic vessels. And its function is that it will allow the passage of few molecules and ions by simple diffusion, even by filtration, and secretes lubricating substances like mucus. So another type of epithelial cell is simple cuboidal epithelium. So simple cuboidal epithelium has the structure just like the ice cubes. So it is present in the ducts and secretory portion of small glands and in kidney tubules. So if it is present in the glands and the kidney tubules, its main function should be the secretion and absorption of molecules or ions. The third one is the simple columnar epithelium. So the column, that is rectangular shape, and in few cases there will be cilia present on the upper portion. Okay, so these are the cilia, those are present on the upper portion of the cell. So ciliated tissues are in bronchi, uterine tubes and uterus. Smooth non-ciliated tissues are in the digestive tract as well as in bladder. So it will also facilitate the absorption, because due to the presence of cilia, it will increase the surface area of the cell. It will also help in the movement of the molecules easily. So its function will be the absorption and the secretion of mucus as well as enzymes, and it will be stretchable also in the few cases. So now the pseudo-stratified columnar epithelium. Ciliated tissues lines the trachea and much of the upper respiratory tract. So it will secrete the mucus and the ciliated tissue moves mucus. Now the many layered cells. Why it is called stratified? Because more than one layer of the epithelial cells are present. So we have seen the single layered epithelial cells and epithelial that is epithelial tissue, and here we will see the epithelial cells making the layer more than one layers. Okay, so stratified squamous epithelium, here you can see more than one layer of the epithelial cells, so they are arranged one above the other. So it is present in the esophagus, mouth and vagina. So it will protect against the aberration, that is cut, wear or tear anything. So it will protect against that. The function of stratified cuboidal epithelium is to protect the underlying tissues. So it also it is present in the sweat gland, salivary gland and the mammary gland. So obviously it will perform the function of secretion because it is present in the glands, as well as it will act as the protective tissue. Now the stratified columnar epithelium. The male urethra and the ducts of some glands are made up of this stratified columnar epithelium. So these are present in the linings of the male urethra and the ducts of some glands. So here also it will perform the function of secretion and protection. Now the transitional epitheliums. Transitional epitheliums lines the bladder, urethra and the ureters. So it will allow the urinary organs to expand and stretch. So the organ may stretch their surfaces, expand their surfaces. Urinary bladder, they store the urine in the form of liquid. So what will happen? As soon as the water is going to be accumulated in the bladder, its size has to increase. So for that purpose, this epithelium is helping. Now second one is the muscle tissue. So cells which form muscle tissue are called muscle fibers. So muscle fibers possess their own cell organelles. So here you can see the muscle tissue is made up of cells, and these cells are called either muscle cells or the muscle fibers, and these muscle fibers possess their own cell organelles. So nucleus and cytoplasm will be present there too, even the mitochondria and all. So inside each muscle fiber there are many myofibrils. So inside the muscle fiber, or you can say inside the muscle cells, there are many myofibrils. And what are those myofibrils? Myofibrils are nothing but it is composed of actin and myosin proteins. So myofibrils are composed of actin and myosin, okay, alternately. So actin and myosin are the proteins. These will form myofibrils, and myofibrils are present where? It is present in the muscle fiber or muscle cell. Now these actin and myosin proteins are arranged in units. So these are arranged in units, and these units are called as sarcomeres. The proteins in the sarcomere contract and relax, that is, they will slide over each other, upon receiving any stimulus. So if it receives any stimulus, then it has to respond. So how will the muscle tissue is going to respond? It will either contract or relax according to the received stimulus. So this sarcomere that is made up of actin and myosin will contract and relax, that is, they will slide over each other upon receiving stimulus. Thus, muscle fiber or muscle cells can only contract or relax back to their original position. So they will come back to their original position. They can't expand beyond their original position until and unless there may be some more force applied to it. In that case, what will happen? Muscle strain could. So here you can see the muscle fiber or muscle cell. So this is the one single muscle fiber or one muscle cell, and from here in the cross section you can see many myofibrils. So this is the single myofibril, which is this is the single myofibril. Okay, this is the single myofibril which has been zoomed in. So it is these myofibrils are made up of thin filament actin and thick filament, that is myosin. So it is made up of actin and myosin, and these forms the unit, a single unit. So here you can see these are forming the units, and these units are called the sarcomere. So the muscle tissues are also of three types, that is the skeletal muscles, cardiac muscles, and smooth muscles. So here in this picture you can see clearly this is the cardiac muscles, skeletal muscles, and smooth muscles. Now the skeletal muscles. A skeletal, what is a skeletal? That is made up of bone. Whatever we are feeling inside our body that is hard, that is made up of bones, are the framework on which our whole body is working, are the skeletal system. And there the filler is the muscle, right? So a skeletal muscle is the filler of bones. So a structure like our body is formed, and over the skeletal and the muscle there is covering of skin. So the skeletal muscles are associated with the bones. Okay, it is attached to the bones through tendon. So tendon is the material through which the muscles are attached to the bones. The skeletal muscles are striated because of the arrangement of sarcomeres. So sarcomeres is made up of actin and myosin, and these arrangement of actin and myosin cause the sarcomere to appear as striated. So the skeletal muscle are striated because of the arrangement of sarcomeres. Skeletal muscles are responsible for the voluntary movement of the body. So whenever we want to move our hand, whenever we want to move our neck, legs, etc., we can move with our own we can move it. Wherever we want to watch, we can move our head to that direction. That is why the muscles which are attached to the bones are voluntary in nature. So it will help in the voluntary movement of the body. The size of the muscle fiber or muscle cell also has the appearance or sports value. Why is it called so? Because the bodybuilders, they build the what are they doing? They are building the muscles. So they are not increasing the number of muscles. What are they doing? They are increasing the size of the muscle cells and fibers, and that's why their muscles are appearing in the proper shape. Now the cardiac muscles. Cardiac muscles are present in our heart. Cardiac muscles are present in our heart. Heart is made up of cardiac muscle. So cardiac muscle cells are also striated in its appearance but perform different function because these are involuntary. So our heart is working continuously. So when we, until our death, heart will goes on working without any stoppage, without any rest. So these are involuntary in nature. So the muscles which are forming the heart are involuntary in nature. They will contract and relax of their own. Okay, they do not get tired throughout the life. Now the smooth muscle. Smooth muscles are not striated because of the different arrangement and concentration of actin and myosin that is present in the sarcomere. So smooth muscle cells are a component of the walls of many organs such as digestive tract, arteries, etc. And they work involuntarily just like the cardiac muscles. So the function of smooth muscles. Smooth muscles in the uterus helps a woman to push out her baby. So smooth muscles are very essential. In the bladder, smooth muscles helps to push out the urine. Smooth muscle determines the flow of blood in our arteries. Also, it is present in our digestive tract so that the movement of food can be determined. Now, third one is the connective tissue. So, connective tissues are consist of cells and extracellular matrix too. So all the tissues are made up of cells and extracellular matrix. Here also, in case of connective tissues, these are made up of cells and extracellular matrix. The extracellular matrix could be a liquid, semi-solid or solid. The extracellular matrix consists of fibers of proteins, that is elastin and collagen. So here in the case of connective tissue, the extracellular matrices are made up of protein fibers, and those protein fibers are made up of elastin and collagen. So elastin and collagen are the proteins here, and there are 6 types of connective tissues. Those are loose connective tissues, bones, cartilages, fibrous connective tissues, adipose tissues, and blood. So in general, what is the function of connective tissue? So the main function and purpose of connective tissue is to support other tissues and organs, or to connect them to other parts of the body. So first connective tissue, that is loose connective tissue, or it is also known as areolar connective tissue. This is also known as areolar connective tissue, loose connective tissue or areolar connective tissue. It is most widely found connective tissue. Extracellular matrix is formed from the collagen, elastin, and a structural variant of fibers that is made up of collagen, and it is known as reticular fiber. So the extracellular matrix of loose connective tissue is made up of collagen, elastin, and one another form of collagen that is known as the reticular fibers. So 3 basic component of extracellular matrix is here: collagen, elastin, and reticular fibers. So collagen has good tensile strength, so it is very strong and it will resist the breakdown under elongation. So even if these tissues are extended, elongated, even in that case the collagen will not allow it to break down. Another is elastin. So elastin has the good elastic strength, so it will allows those portion to return back to its original shape without a permanent change. So appropriate cells are found scattered in the matrix. So along with the matrix, cells will also be present in the areolar tissue, and their function is what? Their function is to hold the organs in place by connecting the organ to the outer covering, that is epithelia or the skin. Another connective tissue is the bone. So it is made up of bone cells, that is known as osteocytes. Bone cells are also called as osteocytes, and matrix of bone is made up of collagen and a mineral deposition that is made up of hydroxyapatite. So hydroxyapatite are the mineral along with collagen forms the matrix of bone, and in the matrix of bone there is bone cells. So finally the bone is made up of bone cells that is known as osteocytes in the matrix of collagen and a mineral called hydroxyapatite. The bones has the properties of requisite flexibility and hardness to serve as the support of the body as a whole. So our whole body is supported, our body's framework is made up of bone. So it must be very hard as well as strong and flexible. So these capabilities or these properties of bone is due to the presence of these fibers, that is collagen fiber and the hydroxyapatite minerals along with the bone cells osteocytes. Now the cartilage. So it consists of cells called chondrocytes. Chondrocytes in a matrix made up of collagenous fibers. So here also the fibers are made up of collagen and protein carbohydrate complexes. So here along with the collagen fiber there is protein carbohydrate complex, and those protein carbohydrate complex are called as chondroitin sulfate. So here the matrix is made up of collagenous fiber plus chondroitin sulfate. The cartilage is strong and reasonably flexible. So it is flexible as well as very strong. It is found in the disc that cushion the different vertebral parts. So our backbone and the vertebral columns. So in the vertebral column it is the structure, this disc-like structure is present. So here at this position everywhere there is the deposition of cartilage. So what is the function of cartilage? It will act as cushion and it will protect the bones from damage. Also the end cap of the bones are made up of cartilage. So there what will happen? It will also protect the bones from damage. Now the fibrous connective tissue. Fibrous connective tissue will have the dense collection of fibers, and it may be compared to that of loose connective tissue. Only the difference is here that the fibrous connective tissues are large in number, and therefore it will have higher strength, it will have more strength as compared to that of loose connective tissue. So they are found in tendons which join muscles to bone. So fibrous connective tissues are present in the tendons which will join the muscles to bone, and also it is present in ligaments. Ligaments join the bone to bone. Now the adipose tissues. It is a kind of loose connective tissues that has fat cells, and these fat cells are also known as adipose cells. These adipose cells are present in the matrix. So these are also present in the matrix. So adipose cells store fats, that is triglycerides, which helps insulate the body parts as well as act as energy storage reservoirs. So here we can see that in the case of areolar tissue there was loose matrix, and in the loose matrix there were the other cells, but here in the adipose tissue loose matrix are present, and in the loose matrices there is adipose cells embedded in it, and these adipose cells store fats, and it is present beneath our skin. So it will act as insulation, and it also act as the energy reservoirs because it stores the fats, and fats provide us energy just like carbohydrate. So adipose cells swell when they store fats. However, too much fat storage can cause the health problems. Now, the last connective tissue is the blood. So it is also considered as connective tissue because it communicates with all body parts. Okay, so it is the liquid in it is liquid state. Blood is fluid, right? Blood is fluid. It is liquid, but it is considered as connective tissue. Why? Because it communicates with our all body parts. It is made up of cells and liquid matrix. So those cells are red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Red blood cells are also known as erythrocytes. White blood cells are also known as leukocytes and platelets. These are all found in the blood plasma. Blood plasma is the liquid matrix, and the function of blood, you can see here, all the cells that is present in the blood have different functions. So erythrocytes or red blood cells will carry oxygen to the body parts, and from the body it is carrying carbon dioxide to the lungs. And leukocytes provide protection against invading organisms, so it helps in defense mechanism. Blood also transport other nutrients and waste to appropriate parts of the body. So here you can see the picture of blood. Blood is a fluid connective tissue. So RBC, WBC, platelets, and the plasma matrix. Now the fourth tissue that is very important. All the tissues are very important. Nervous tissues are also very important. Why? Because without nervous tissue we can't feel, we can't sense, we can't know what to do, what not to do. So nervous tissues are very important. Nervous tissue is made up of nerve cells and glial cells. So nerve cells are the neurons. Neurons will carry the impulses, electrical signals, okay, and these signals are carried from the body parts to the brain and from the brain to the body parts, and it will tell us what to do and what not to do. And the glial cells, so glial cells are the supporting cells. These will provide nutrition to the nerve cells, okay, and it will protect the nerve cells. So mainly you might have heard the in that brain tumor or something is wrong is happening in the brain. So nerve cells is not dividing. Once it is formed, it won't divide, so its number is fixed. But the glial cells divides, and due to the uncontrolled division in the glial cells, there is in some people tumor occur. So nerve cells consist of a cell body and long extension from it. These extensions are called processes. So nerve cells consist of a cell body and long extensions from the cell body, and these extensions are called processes. The processes are of two types, that is dendrites and axons. So dendrites transmit electrical impulses from outward to inward, that is from the tip of the neuron to its other parts. And axons are long and could be even more than a meter in length. So axons transmit electrical impulses from one neuron to the other neuron or to a muscle cell through a particular kind of process and at a particular site that is known as synapses. The communication occurs through the chemicals, and these chemicals are known as neurotransmitters. So acetylcholine is a common neurotransmitter. So here is the image of a nerve cell. Here you can see this is the cell body, and from the cell body there are projections, branch like structure. These are the dendrites, and nucleus is within the cell. Here this region are the axons, and here in axons there is the center extension, and over that there is the myelin sheath present, and these structure is known as the Schwann cells. So Schwann cells helps in the production of myelin sheath, and here the gap that is known as the node of Ranvier. This gap is known as the node of Ranvier, and this is the axon terminals. So what is happening here? The conduction of electrical impulse will be very fast because the impulse will jump from here like this. So the conduction of nerve impulses is very fast, and these nerve impulses will be passed to another nerve cells. So how this is how the communication is happening. So here if the axon terminal of another neuron is present, then here there will be the synapses. So the neurotransmitters will be ejected from this, and it will come to here and it create the nerve impulses to another cells. Okay, so this is the dendrite and this is the axon terminal. Here you can see the communication between two nerves and between two nerves and other tissue happens at the terminal point of axons by the specialized region that is called synapses. So this is how the signals are transmitted. So axons are nerve cells are of two types, maybe myelinated and non-myelinated. So non-myelinated nerve cells are also present and myelinated are also present, but the conduction of signals are very fast in the case of myelinated nerve cells. So here the myelinated sheaths are present due to the presence of Schwann cells, but in case of non-myelinated nerve cells there will be simply this structure. No Schwann cells like this will be present. I hope you might have understood. Thank you.